Happy evening to you.
Happy evening.
I welcome all the members and our committee members for this half-a-day workshop on bank branch audit. This session we conducted because 19th March we had a full day session on bank branch audit. There was an overwhelming response for that seminar. It's held in the Chancery Pavilion. Physical and virtual put together, more than 500 members registered and attended that program. After that program, again, some of the members that time they were not able to attend, and they got the appointment of bank branch audit later. Based on their demand, we are planning to have today's program. As a result of that, we are having a half-a-day program on bank branch audit. This session having two sessions. Critical aspects of bank branch audit is going to handle by Manohar Guptha sir. Second session on data analytics in filing LFR. This session is going to be handled by Venugopal Gella sir. So both the session is very critical to have do with bank branch audit. So with this intention, we conducted this half-a-day seminar. Hope you all enjoy this session. I welcome you all once again. Thank you. Over to Secretary to give a brief introduction of today's speaker, Manohar Gupta sir.
Thank you, Chairman, for your welcome address. Well, I take a great privilege to introduce P. Manohar Gupta sir, who is a commerce and law graduate and a fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. He has secured 48 rank in CA examination. He worked with Mrs. A. Ferguson and Co. Chartered Accountants for about 2.5 years in the year 1974 to 1976 in their audit department. He's practicing as a senior partner of Mrs. Daglia and Co. Chartered Accountants. He has a wide exposure to corporate audits, including large PSU, corporate advisory, due diligence, special audits under Income Tax Act, corporate taxation, and other related areas. He has a vast experience in conducting various types of bank audits, such as central statutory audits for 5 terms, statutory branch audits, and concurrent audits, credit audits of various public sector banks, and audit of cooperative bank as well. He has presented technical papers on subjects relating to company law, accounting standards, bank audit, etc., organized by SIRC, Bangalore branch, and other branches of ICAI. He has also addressed executives of State Bank of India and Punjab National Bank on topics relating to bank audit and Reserve Bank of India and on accounting standards. He is the member of Financial Reports Review Group of ICAI. He is a technical reviewer of QRB. He is also expert reviewer of qualifications in auditor's report under SEBI. Now here I present Manohar sir to all of you.
Thank you.
Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Pramod. Thank you, young Secretary, Mr. Pramod, for your brief introduction. And Mr. Srinivas.
Sir, not able to hear you, sir. Manohar sir.
There is some.
Sorry, sir. Sir, you are on mute, sir. Now.
Am I audible now? Am I audible?
Yes.
Or should I use the microphone? Now I am audible?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Good evening, friends. Am I audible?
Yes. Good evening, sir.
Chairman of the Bangalore branch, Mr. Srinivas, the young and enthusiastic
audible, sir.
secretary of the Bangalore branch, Mr. Pramod Hegde, and my co-speaker, and all my fellow members. It gives me an immense pleasure to participate and to share my experiences. Virtually, I am sharing my experiences in bank audit to all of you, and I thank Mr. Srinivas for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts on the crucial topic of the day being bank audit, the critical aspects of bank audit. Friends, we are all aware that for past more than 1.5 decades, enormous changes have happened and continue to happen in global economic environment, which in turn impacts our country as well. Business, commerce and industry have not recovered from the COVID-19. For last 2 years, we have been suffering. The result, business industry was not performing. When the business industry doesn't perform, it will impact directly on the banking industry. With the result, NPA growth will see a steep increase. Through resolution plans, because now the RBI has introduced through IBC code under resolution plans to resolve the NPA issue and also to get the fast recovery of the bad loans. Though these resolution plans were introduced, no significant results are yielded for last 4 years. So considering the situation, the government has come out with various reliefs, particularly to MSMEs and also to reliefs to other eligible borrowers under COVID-19 pandemic. When COVID-19 pandemic is slowly subsiding, now recently we are facing the Russia-Ukraine war, which is disturbing the economy. I think let us hope for the improvement. Coming to the banking environment, see, though we call it as commercial banks, I personally feel there is no commercial cult. Because the social cult, because whatever government wanted to bring out the social, wherever government wants to bring out any schemes, public interested schemes, projects and all these schemes are implemented through banking industry. And there are several such schemes like agriculture finance, many of the priority lending schemes, And major is financing infrastructure projects. Say you take ports, power sector, airports, road projects, so many projects which the government, it is the primary responsibility of the government to provide these infrastructure facilities to the public. The government has found a way to implement this, finance these projects through banking industry. So when any failure of these large sectors, it will directly impact on the banking industry. Apart from that, failures like IL&FS or DHFL or Yes Bank or Lakshmi Vilas Bank, this kind of failures has added serious concerns to the public. The functioning of the banking is functioning in the open economy and transparency. And it is now, it is a borrower's market. Severe competition is there in the banking business. So innovative digitized consumer products have been introduced by the banks. Now banking is totally technology driven. And because we are using this online banking, mobile banking, various payments through several kinds of apps we have been using. And another important aspect is there which we have to keep in mind is the merger of PSU banks. Earlier 29 banks were there, they brought down to 12 banks. So now we have to see, because this is the recent step which the government has taken to bring down the number of banks and make the banks in a particular size. So how it will work? Definitely one thing is that number of branches will get merged and thereby the overheads will get reduced and the concentration and the public service expected to improve. Another thing, centralization of the banking services. Many of the functions are back, it has been taken as a back office functions, and many banks now they started as a segmenting, like now what we say, large corporate branches, then this is like housing finance branches or agricultural finance branches. So each operation wise they have segmented, they made so that the expertise in that particular field could be available at a particular location. That is the one aspect. Another thing, centralized record keeping. Now, for example, like urban areas like Bangalore and all, every bank has got a processing centers, loan processing centers. Let it be a retail processing hubs or housing finance processing hubs, industrial finance processing hubs, and so on. So when you go to the branch for the audit, the relevant documents and files, loan files, would be maintained at particular central processing centers. Each centralized processing center will be catering to the needs of various number of branches. Maybe it may range up to even 60 to 70 branches is catered by one single processing hub. So the issue will come when you are carrying out a branch audit of particular branch where the records are maintained, that the coordination with the retail processing center or housing finance processing center is required. And they have to organize. First you have to, as an auditor, when you see that which are the loan files you are required to go through and all, you have to list out and you have to coordinate with the branch head and also the retail processing head and fix the schedule, and we have to visit those places, and within the given time we have to verify, review those files and satisfy yourself that appropriate audit evidence has been obtained. This is the one aspect which we have to take particularly in urban branches, urban areas. Then frequent changes of regulatory requirements. RBI has come out with frequent changes considering the economic situation. The earlier the practice was the RBI used to issue circulars now and then, and directions and circulars. When this was causing a lot of inconvenience among the bankers as well as the audit community also. So now, when at the request of that, RBI has started issuing annual basis master directions or master circulars. These master directions and master circulars generally they issue as of 1st of July every year. The important master circulars are relating to the master directions and circulars relating to advances IRAC norms, the popularly called in income recognition and asset classification provisioning norms. These, though the year on year they were issuing, the master circular relating to IRAC norms was issued on 1st July 2015. Subsequently, there were no master circular, but some various other circulars relating to asset classification matters were issued from time to time. Now, during this financial year, on 1st October 2021, maybe after the gap of almost 6 years, the Reserve Bank of India issued a important feature which has occurred during this financial year. And apart from that, after 1st October 2015 also, they issued a couple of circulars on 12th November and 15th February that we can go into detail after in due course. Now, another important factor RBI has been harping on the banking industry is auto identification of NPAs. You know, all the banks are under core banking solutions. Then asset classification in accordance with RBI IRAC norms should be carried out. There are various technical aspects are there in relation to asset classification issues. Now, there were a lot of issues have emerged, and RBI has bent upon to say that yes, all these parameters they should sit in the system, and system should throw out the asset classification. They call it auto identification of NPAs. It should mandatorily, they say, but this is way back from 2009 onwards they've been just imposing, but it was not happening. Though every bank's management, they declared that yes, our bank, we have made 100% auto identification of NPAs is implemented and all, but that in real sense, it has not happened. So now, last financial year, they have issued a directive again that by 30th June, this identification should be implemented, and it was not happened. They extended up to 31st December 2021 in the November 12th circular. Now we have to see, but how far when we go into branches for the audit, how they have implemented this auto identification of NPS needs to be looked into that. Another important aspect is, let us look at the size of the banks. It is a massive size, and it is all technology driven, and also the type of workforce what the banks they have now, particularly in PSU banks, the average age of employees it is 48 plus, and majority of the senior executives they have retired, and also there is a death for junior officers. The banking industry is not able to attract the right disciplined professionals in the banking industry. Now, I think last 3 to 4 years only the banks have started recruiting people, and I have seen many of the engineers and non-finance professionals have been recruited in the banks. Actually, it is very difficult for such people to understand the finance and banking and implement the policies of the banks and to cope up with the their work. Apart from that, that is one kind of risk what we have to consider. Then, in the case of bank, you are all aware that in case of companies, the auditors have to give a report on the internal financial controls or financial reporting. This is equally applicable to the banking companies. You know, because the banks are governed by regulated under two different statutes. The private sector banks, which are formed under the Companies Act, they are governed by the Companies Act in addition to the Banking Regulation Act. But State Bank of India, if you take, they are governed by the State Bank of India Act coupled with Banking Regulation Act, and all the nationalized banks, they are governed by Nationalization of Banks Act 1974 and Banking Regulation Act. So for this, all these so-called PSU banks, which they are not companies under the Companies Act, they were not required to get the report from the auditors on the internal financial controls or financial reporting. In March 2021, the Reserve Bank of India and also SEBI, they have come out that even for public sector banks, though they are not companies, they should get the internal financial controls or financial reporting reviewed and get the report from their auditors. So this is a new feature in public sector banks from 2020-21 onwards. Now coming to the NPA status. Now you see, the NPA status, I could able to gather the data as on 30th September 2021. The data, the growth of the NPAs have trickled to a flood, it has happened. The banking industry is added with almost 9.36 lakh crores locked in the NPAs, in which public PSU bank share is 7,90,000 crores. Major chunk is with the PSU banks. But what we find is there is a reduction in NPS, it has come in the media and all, but the reduction is only on account of write-offs. The write-offs have happened 70,000 crores in 2015-16, which got increased to 2,20,000 crores in 2019-20. Almost threefold increase in the write-offs. Then another thing practice they followed by the banks are technical write-off. The technical write-off means, or prudential write-off or technical write-off. Generally, a debt is written off when all the efforts, all the steps taken by the bank to recover the loan, which have failed, and the bank's board, they decide that at the appropriate level in the management, they conclude that this amount they cannot recover and there are no means with the borrower, then they may take a call to write off the debt. That is normal commercial prudence, even what we come across. But in case of technical write-off, though the assets are held by the borrower, at what various reasons, particularly large cases, they resorted for this kind of technical write-off. That means only write-off is made at the head office level in their books, whereas at the branch level books, the advance account would remain, and they will carry out adjustments at the corporate office level while consolidation that this is write-off, this will not appear part of the advances. So thereby what happens, there are two edged benefits the bank's management is to derive. One is the NPA ratio, because all the banks are required to disclose in their balance sheet movement of NPAs, gross NPAs as well as net NPAs. The ratio of NPAs at the given date has to be disclosed. So by writing of this asset, the technical write-off, what are the so-called technical write-off, the percentage of NPAs, gross NPAs to the total advances will get reduced because both the numerator and denominator will get eliminated. So the percentage will improve. That is number one. Number two, under Income Tax Act, as you are aware, under 3618 of Income Tax Act, once a debt is written off, then that will be eligible for deduction under the tax computation. So many of the banks, they have taken advantage of the tax deduction by making a technical write-off. Now, RBI has come out the November 21 circular that banks are not permitted to make technical write-off unless they have exhausted all the means for recovery of the debt, and the board has to pass a resolution stating that yes, they should get convinced that all the means are gone, and when they write up, then only they can write off these advances. This is a feature. Generally, this will be taken care, impact at the head office level. At branch level, it may not impact. But average NPA level is expected to grow from 7.5 to 13.5%. This is the prediction. We have to look and see. Maybe after 15 days, we will come to know what exact position of the banking industry as of 31st March 2022. The gross NPA in public sector banks are doubled in 7 years. Now here if you see that the position of gross NPA as 30 June 2014 and 30 September 2021, you see tremendous enhancement increase has happened in the NPA level. Average gross NPA level is around 7.5% in the bank, in the industry level, whereas in some of the banks, particularly Punjab National Bank, the growth has happened 18.22%, and State Bank of India 22.35%, Union Bank of India 14.39%. This has happened, and Canara Bank, of course, 9.71% is there. So this is the level of NPAs in the banks as on 30th September 2021. So this would also give an idea of when we are taking a particular bank to see what is the level of NPAs, what issues could emerge. And coming to this recovery of bad loans, in our country, maybe due to judicial system or the recovery system, very poor compared to other countries in the globally. Like in Japan, recovery percentage of bad loans is at 92.5%, whereas in OECD countries 68.6%, East Asia and Pacific region it is 28.4%, South Asian region is 19.9%, India is 13.7%. So this I think they would take a substantive step, see that how bad loans can be recovered faster. Now with this idea only in the last year, that is 2021 budget, the finance minister had announced a bad loans bank would be established. So whether this bad bank can save this NPA crisis or is a big new mood question which we have to wait and see. Nothing in concrete has happened, maybe due to COVID issues and everything. But now concentration of expertise. Now question is in bad bank, what happens? All the bad loans will be shifted. In fact, this concept is there already in the banking industry. Many of the banks, they have asset recovery branches, stress asset branches and all, where this all the NPA accounts are migrated and parked in this account, so that those branches, they concentrate on either recovery or rehabilitation of the loans. And once if it is they rehabilitate and they can make it as a regular, then they can shift back to the concerned branch. So that is the whole idea, is that expertise would be available to deal with this such bad loans. But now question is, when the bad bank, they said that bad bank, now whatever said, they should not be profit oriented, and they should, main objective should be early rehabilitation or restructure and disposal or recovery. And dedicated benches of NCLT and court agents is very much required to push the recovery of the bad loans. Now, with this background, let us come to the profession. What is our focus on with regard to the banking industry? See, we are under tremendous pressures because now expectations from the stakeholders have enormously increased. Now, the LFAR last financial year, that is for 2021, long form audit report has been revised. If you see the clauses in the long form audit report, it is really a nightmare for the branch auditors. So, but one thing is that the beauty of the long form audit report is that it covers the whole gamut of banking operations. If you start from the first point in the LFAR and reach to the end, verify and fill the LFAR, virtually you have completed audit. Absolutely, there is no separate audit program required in case of bank audits. Then another important factor is, you are all aware that amendments to Schedule 3 of the Companies Act and CARO 2020, which they introduced in 2020, they deferred up to 2022. So added, see this what are several provisions in the CARO 2020 and Schedule 3 amendments really help the bankers to monitor and supervise the borrowers' accounts. In spite of this, though additional burden is added on the profession, but definitely I feel that it would help the banking industry in the coming years. For instance, if you see, one of the clause what we to say that what are the quarterly returns submitted by the borrowers with the bankers, they are matching with the books of accounts. This is a very, very important factor. It will impact the borrowers. We are all aware that what practices have been prevalent in the industry, the business and commerce, but particularly in the MSMEs. There was no seriousness in submission of the returns, or particularly stock statements and book debt statements. They don't ensure the authenticity. They don't ensure the correctness of these returns while submitting to the banks. And they just, even at the same time, the bank managers, bank industry also, they are also taking very lenient view. They were not giving sufficient attention to this area. We have come across during the course of our statutory audit, many cases the balance sheet, audited balance sheet, whatever the stocks and they declared as on 31st March, and relevant returns what they submitted to the bank as of that day, the variations are found, significant variations are found. So this was the main nightmare. Now the CARO 2020 now auditor has to state whether this quarterly state returns what is submitted to the bank are matching the books of account. I think definitely this practice of submitting the false stock statements and book debt statements will get reduced, and that definitely will help the banking industry. Now, as a professionals, though it is a very tough task for us to additional job for us to go into the details of these additional requirements, but I feel that it is our profound duty to advise our clients, advise our business clients that we have to infuse the financial discipline among the business and industry. Then that will go in a long way, not only in carrying out our own job, it will go in a long way for improvement in the economy of the country. Then many people, they started asking me, what is the position of the appointments? I feel that the audit of banks, bank audit is really an acid test for the profession. You see the situation, today is 31st of March, last day of the financial year. Till yesterday, according to my knowledge, or maybe till last week, no member was available, was aware that which bank he is going to audit, or if he knows that if he is continuing in the bank's panel, if he is within the term, then which branch is going to get audit, whether he will get any branch allotment or not, that was a moot question. Once if you come to know that yes, this owns a bank branch, he has to carry it out audit, then other acceptance formalities, then we have to our audit team. That is another big challenge. These days, inflow of articles has come down. Availability of the audit staff also is a big challenge for particularly in urban areas like Bangalore and all like that. But this problem, what I find is not much in the semi-urban and rural areas where, because I find last week I'd been to Shimoga. When I was interacting, I was inquiring with them about the inflow of articles. So every member they expect that there is a comfortable position about the inflow of articles. But that is not so in city of Bangalore. So I think this will be additional problem for the members from Bangalore city or any urban city where the inflow of articles is less or audit professionals are less, then to have to gear up and to prepare the team and all. After identifying the team, then you need to train them. You need to have a detailed discussion with the audit team, and they see that they understand the tenets of the bank audit, and they should prepare for that. That is the basic aspect. Now, from last financial year onwards, the norms for appointment of auditors have changed. Earlier concept was there. They used to say all the banks were subjected to audit, but certain branches, like these advances branches with having advances less than 20 crores will be subjected to audit over the period of 5 years by rotation. Now that concept they have changed. That they said that 90% of the total advances, both fund-based and non-fund-based, outstanding as on the 31st March should be subjected to audit. That was the March 2021. With this change, in the total banking industry, more than 28,000 branches were outside the scope of branch audit. And this financial year, this 90% limit, threshold limit, was brought down to 80%. So by this reduction of 10% in the threshold limit, in each bank, number of branches ranging from 2,000 to 4,000 have gone outside the purview of the branch audit. So now for this year, many of the banks managements, when I just inquired, they said that the existing auditors, branch auditors, what they have would be more than sufficient, because they are finding it difficult to ensure that each branch auditor who are there continuing in the banks allot at least one branch. So the question of choosing new auditors has ruled out. So that is the position as of branch audits are concerned for the current financial year. And they have what they have said that earlier what happened in particularly in place centers like Bangalore and all like that. So after completion of the 4 years term, 2 years cooling period was there. Now the cooling period concept they have taken out. In place of cooling period, they say rotation. Suppose you are carrying out audit, you are in the panel of say Canara Bank, 4 years. After completion of 4 years, you are eligible to carry out the audit in some other bank and by rotation, but not in the same bank. So by which what happened, number of eligible auditors have increased. Then statute central auditors who are retiring from the bank, earlier they practiced the same bank, they used to continue as a branch auditors. Now they have stopped that practice. Once you are retiring as a statute auditor, you are not eligible to be auditor of the same bank. So this is the in brief about the status of the bank audit appointments position is concerned. Then what we have to keep in mind, the compliance with the professional ethics is very important in case of bank audit also. There is no exception that for bank audit we need not comply with this ethics. The fundamental ethics what we have to comply with are, we have to seek no objection certificate from the previous auditor. This is a mandatory, because many of the members, they just went interacting. So this is the appointment made by the through Reserve Bank of India by the bank's management only. Why do we require the NOC from the previous auditor? No, please don't be under the impression. It is for every attest function or every assignment, a member it is an obligation or the professional ethical duty to seek NOC from the previous auditor who has handled the same work. So that is the thing. Only relaxation is a, but one thing is that because we are under severe pressure or timelines, because all the bank they will prescribe the timelines, very short duration, right? We have to complete the audit. That means if you get the appointment of letter itself, it is received only end of the financial year. Then we have to write to the previous auditor and wait for his NOC, then acceptance and commencement also. It will take a tremendous time. So for that purpose, what the institute also has allowed that one, you can communicate through emails. Once the email confirmation received, it is a valid confirmation. That is sufficient, but not social medias like WhatsApp and all. That is not permitted evidence. Only email evidence is permitted. The unit visits. Whenever we are doing a branch, the borrowers units you would like to visit, please ensure that when you visit a unit, you should not visit alone. You should ensure that the concerned bank official is accompanies you, and you have to carry out the unit inspection with the branch officials. Then, as a branch auditors of the bank, we should not interact directly with the borrowers of the bank, either borrowers or customers of the bank. So that we should not entertain. Then a member holding credit card of the bank is eligible to be appointed as an auditor of the branch or of any branch of the bank, provided the credit card dues do not exceed 10,000 rupees beyond the credit period limit. So this you have to keep in sure. Then one cannot accept bank audit even if he has borrowed a loan from the bank against fixed deposits in the bank. So I have kept a fixed deposit of 10 lakhs. I have borrowed 8 lakhs or 9 lakhs loan against the fixed deposit. In fact, my money is with the bank. That is the argument some of the members they said. Then why I should not be eligible? But ethical guidelines are very clear that any kind of borrowing, including the borrowing against a bank's own fixed deposit, will not entail a member to accept the appointment as an auditor of the bank. Another thing, during the tenure as statutory branch auditor of a particular bank, you are not expected to carry out any other assignments like stock audits or any due diligences or any kind of assignments of the branch. Apart from that, the sister concerns of that bank, like now you take State Bank of India, they got various other group concerns. Or Canara Bank, you see there various other group concerns are there. You are not supposed to accept any audit assignments of the group concerns, sister concerns of the bank in the same financial year. Then, if you are carrying out concurrent audit of a particular branch of a particular bank, you are not supposed to carry out limited review on quarterly basis limited review. You are not expected to carry. There is a direction from the council of the institute stating that concurrent audit is nothing but internal audit. So once you are carrying out any internal audit work, you cannot carry out attest function of the same bank, not even other branch of the same bank. So this is the one aspect which you find that it is not practically being implemented if members are not following. So this we have to pay attention on this, otherwise it will get into ethical issues. In fact, my own experience, I was carrying out concurrent audit of a particular bank. Once when they said that quarterly review you need to carry out, they sent a letter to me. Then I have told the bank's management that look here, our directions from the council is that as a concurrent auditor, I am not supposed to carry out any limited review of non-performing assets and it amounts to certification. I cannot do certification work as a concurrent auditor. And to surprise, they said, sir, nobody has raised this objection. We are only the person raising this objection. Why that is so? Then I had to share the Institute's council's direction to the bank's management. Then, of course, they have not disturbed me. But what I understand is that practice is continuing. They are getting it done. So, in fact, I have written to the, submitted a memorandum to the president of the institute also. Sir, please, sir, because we are giving a direction to the members, sir. The council is giving direction to the members not to accept. But the users of the financial services from the members, they are not aware. The bank's managements are not aware. Reserve Bank of India is not aware about this restriction. So you please educate them. You please bring to that one, yes, this is the direction, this is the professional ethics of the institute, so that you please don't engage concurrent auditors who are the charter holders in the other services. Like that, various issues are there. This is what we have to keep as far as the bank audit is concerned. Now, bank branch audit is different from our normal audit. Why it is different? The complex and voluminous transactions. Importantly, is the availability of time. It is very limited time. But what I find, yes, we appreciate the bankers are under stress to complete the entire audit process in time and come out with their audited balance sheet. And particularly since all the banks are listed and as per the SEBI requirements are there, they have to publish either unaudited results of the bank within 45 days from the close of the financial years, or they can opt for audited, they can publish within 60 days from the close of financial year. But the banks are in race to publish audited financials. No bank has opted for publishing unaudited financials. Every bank wants to publish audited financial results, and that too, they don't want to wait up to 60 days, not even 45 days. Some banks, they are publishing results in 25 days from the close of the financial years. So you can imagine a bank with having about more than 10,000 branches and having about 25 to 30 controlling offices to get the entire process of audit completed at branch level, consolidation controlling office level, final consolidation corporate office level, and various disclosure requirements and other significant technical areas like treasury operations and getting the audit of investment verification and treasury operations and getting their balance sheet and consolidating and all, it is a Hercules task. Entire this task they want to complete within a matter of a short period of 25 days or 30 days. It is not an easy job. But thanks to the technology, thanks to the computer environment, which is helping the bank industry, banks management, as well as the audit profession to complete the audit in the given time. So this may lead to a lot of risks, because we have to see in the frauds, what are happening in the banking industry are tremendously increasing. So this is another concern for the audit of the banks are concerned. Numerous reporting and certifications. I tell you, in 2012-13, when the audit fees for the branches was fixed, or branches or even for that matter, corporate head office also for central auditors also was fixed, given the RBI has given the guidelines for scale of audit fees in 2012-13, and from 2012-13 to till date, no revision has happened. In spite of several representations made also, this has not happened, and also in my personal opinion, no revision will take place. Though they say that it is under consideration, or institute will say that yes, we have made representation, they are assured the enhancement will be made and all like that, it will not happen. The reason being, the finance ministry officials, they have raised a query. You take, they made a comparison of the cost of audit in public sector banks with the cost of audit in private sector banks. Please note that none of these private sector banks are having the system of branch audits. Even small bank like Karnataka Bank, they had a branch audit system, but for this financial year, there is no branch audit system. all the bank, their audit is carried out central office level, or at the most, auditors may visit a controlling offices. No branch audit system is there. So when the no branch audit system is there, the cost of audit and definitely will be substantially lower when compared to the banks where they have got a branch audit system. So that is the one area. One reason that there will not be any enhancement of the fees. And also now the finance ministry is questioning all the banks management, even the Reserve Bank of India for that matter, how to bring down the cost of audit. So now that is the basic reason that this time the number of branches under audit, they have brought down to 80. In fact, it was the RBI proposed to bring down to 70%. Then I think our institute made a representation. Based on the representation, they have retained at 80%. This is what I was told. So now coming back to this certifications, in 2012-13, when the guidelines they fixed for the fees, 17 certificates were required to be issued by the branch auditors at each branch. But please note that the fees guidelines very clearly indicates that no separate additional fees will be paid to the auditors for issuing these certificates. Now, these 17 certificates today has gone up to 53 certificates. Now, today, if you see the list of certificates to be issued, 53 certificates at each branch were to be issued by the statutory branch auditors, which we are issuing without any additional fees. The fees what they paid, that itself will cover, they say here. But this is very pathetic situation. But particularly, I tell you, each certificate has got a unique requirement. There are plenty of requirement certificates because where banks they are implementing the government's policies, say like interest subvention certificate or the various priority sector lending data, or this. Even they are expecting a certificate from the branch auditor whether the minimum cash balance is maintained by the account holders in their SB accounts and current accounts. So the numerous number of certificates required. Apart from the certificates, as the banks are required to publish in their financial statements various other information, so that information needs to be emerged, originated from the branch level. So those information which is originating from the branch level, they expect that should be certified by the branch auditors. In fact, majority of this information they can cull out from the CBS at the corporate office level also. But for various reasons, some of the information they are getting this weighted by the statutory branch auditors at branch level. So this is an enormous job. And also please note it that when you are issuing a certificate, we should have sufficient backup papers with us. First, we see what is the scheme and what is exactly certificate required and how the information has been obtained from the bank and how we are verified, how we are satisfied, how we are doing. Because generally what we find at branch level, practical difficulties are there. When we ask for the particular information, they said this has been generated from the system. This has come from the head office only. When they see information has originated from the head office, how a branch auditor at branch level can certify it? This is a moot question. So because they, as a branch head, branch official, their objective is to see by hook or hook to get the audit completed and close the chapter. But they are not bothered about the quality in the returns, whatever they are generating and certifying. So we should be very extra careful while issuing the certificates. And wherever you find that particular information is not available, please put a appropriate qualification in the certificate. With the qualification, you can issue the certificate. Nobody can insist you that don't add any word or any qualification, you just sign the certificate without that. Please don't do that. See, all of you are well aware that This bank audit is only balance sheet audit. So now only another thing what we find is the branch officials, they speak their own language. They never speak the language which an accountant can understand. They need their abbreviations they use, terminologies they use. They say value dating. Various, so that's why even if you see the guidance note issued by the institute, the last 4-5 pages it runs to the what are the abbreviations used and what is that exactly the meaning of that abbreviation. So that too we should be familiarized. So now here when the approach is that we have to see that familiarize these terminologies and go to the RBI prudential norms and circulars issued during the year and understand the features of CBS software. And also when you enter to the branch, you should ask the branch head. Please don't be under the impression that entire banking operations are covered by only one software that is called core banking software. But where the various multiple softwares also used in the banking industry, even at branch level also, first you inquire that which are the other softwares are used. And then whatever the data generated in this software, how it is interfaced with the CBS. That is the important factor we should keep in mind. Yes, we have it. Now another aspect is SA 600. So the statutory central auditors are expected to make a communication to the branch auditors in terms of SA 600. So whereas such communications are two important factors are there. One is the head office, they issue instructions to the branches, annual closing instructions that generally runs into 100 to 120 pages. That please go through and keep as a reference material during the course of audit any issues there. What is the instructions are issued by the head office, you will come to know. That is number one. Number two, if any statute central auditors have given any communication to the branch auditors, please go through that communications and you see you will be guided by the communication what they have given. These are one thing. And you should carry out a risk assessment, that is SA 310 and 315, like knowledge of the business and risk assessment, that you can make your own noting about the background of the activities and what is the risk and how we are mitigating the risk. Then audit program and plan that is there, as I said, the long form audit report, if you can keep the questionnaire, if you start inquiring and verifying and filling up the long form audit report, that itself be more than an audit program. Now, this revised long form audit, I think my next speaker will go in details about the LFAR. But I just wanted to bring to notice that, particularly with reference to advances in this revised long form audit report, the condition is that auditor is expected to, branch auditor expected to review and verify the top advances. Top advances mean 10% of the total advances, both fund-based and non-fund-based, outstanding as on the 31st March 2022, we are expected to verify. Or rupees 10 crores, whichever is less. Now let us take a case, a branch having about 500 crores of total advances. Then immediately you should ask the list of branch accounts, which will reach 10%. That means 10% is at least 50 crores of advances. Out of total advance of 550 crores should be covered. To cover 50 crores, those accounts you have to verify. And then we have to mandate this. We have to cover for this threshold limit. You have to cover fund-based as well as non-fund-based advances outstanding as on that. What is non-fund-based? Maybe LCs or BGs utilized and outstanding as on 31st March. So you may get from the core banking system or from the ledger account that advances, fund-based advances outstanding from each borrower you may get. But this non-fund-based limits, you may not get. That what we have to see, what system is there to generate the statement, and then we have to merge both fund-based and non-fund-based, and then you have to apply this test whether 10% of the total advances will cover or not. This is mandatory you have to cover. And mind it, in LFAR, we have to state which are those 10% accounts you have verified. The borrower's name, the account number, the rate of interest, what type of facilities they have extended, and what is asset classification and various other information. It is better you should record instantly, the documentation should be made. So that will help, that will show that yes, these are the accounts are verified by the branch auditor and it is included in the LFR also. Apart from this, covering this 10% of the total fund-based and non-fund-based advances, the branch auditor also expected to comment on the top 5 accounts, top 5, whether it is top 5 standard accounts we have to give. So not necessarily there are any adverse features. If at all any points which you want to bring to the notice of the bank's management for improvement or any omissions, even minor omission also to be taken care of, a good account also you have to give. That is a value addition to the management. These two aspects which you have to keep in mind. So there another thing what happens, the materiality concept or the sample verification, random sample verification. Earlier what we used to say, we have carried out at sample and all. Now merely you cannot say that sample and carry out sample, but for sample also they have defined what is the sample size should be there. So this is the pertinent point which we have to keep in mind. Because now we have to use technology. I think my next speaker, he is very good. He will speak about the technology, how we can use and in the bank audit. So that you can see, but the simple Excel tools like macros, Vlookup and all, this is very helpful in the bank considering the volume of the operations. More and more concentration we should give on system controls, how they made, that is important. And particularly parameters set in the system. Particularly, let us take an example of interest rate. See, interest rate, as I said, this is the banks now they are under borrower's market. Every borrower would like to negotiate for the interest rate, any other terms. Now, though the bank has got a fixed rate for each particular type of product, but there will be deviation. Particularly, this is more so in case of large borrowers, where large corporates or mid-sized corporate borrowers are there. So they will be looking to the background of the borrower and also the banks, they want to continuity of the business and a healthy borrower's accounts, they will negotiate and they will fix the different rate of interest than the interest applicable for particular that product. So that means necessarily the rate of interest, what is charged at a particular borrower, not according to the base rate plus other rates, what they fix for particular product. For this purpose, every core banking system, they have a system, this report can be generated, that interest variation reports. So that interest variation reports, they are expected to generate on monthly basis and see that whether whatever the variation is justified, that the rate other than what the applicable rate is charged, it matches, it should be in conformity with the loan sanction document, letters. That is that's what we have to keep in mind. And also frequent changes will be there in the rate of interest. What the base rate they will change. And as and when the base rate is changed on the advances or deposits, what we have to see that whether rates, what you set, these rates, revised rates are set by the computer department at a corporate office level. As the parameter they set, that will continue. So whether the parameter they have set on the proper date, that we have to carry out test check, you can do it. And interest rate on the last day is accrued and the same is provided for, that should be insured. This is the one important. This already we have covered this one, what to say. Another thing, when CPS environment, we are looking into that. One of the fundamental principles under IRAC norms is that various facilities extended to a single borrower should have common asset classification. Even one account goes bad, all other accounts, though they are performing well, should be classified as non-performing. So here the challenge is the system will consolidate the borrower's account based on the customer ID reference. If they, while opening an account, either loan account or any account, if they assign a different customer ID, then that will be a big challenge that system will not consolidate. But there also now we have seen, in fact, in Canara Bank, we discussed this point at length, and they have, the computer department, they have enabled to generate one return, like they call it as CIM SIM 39. This return will consolidate all the customer IDs of the same borrower and it will throw. So for this consolidation, what we said, ideally you can go the PAN number based you can go, it will consolidate. So this you have to, wherever, whichever bank you are carrying out audit, you can inquire how they can get the merger statement of different customer IDs of same borrower, so that this aspect of considering that a single borrower asset classification is, uniform asset classification is covered. Auto identification, we said that this is what I already have dealt with. But wherever the manual interventions are there, every CBS has got a system to generate a report. It will throw that wherever manual interventions are there. Again, I just say that in Canara Bank, they got a SIM 15. A SIM 15 return will show that wherever manual interventions are made. So wherever manual interventions are made, that you should inquire that justification for that manual intervention to changing the asset classification. Then coming to the divergences. See, when the statutory audit is completed, we are all aware that Reserve Bank of India, they will take up inspection of the bank under Section 35 of the RBI Act. When they carry out annual inspection, they will come out that what are the asset classification change. Let it be asset classification change, let it be capital adequacy ratio change, let it be the profit, income and expenditure account heads, any change also is there. But the more important factor is the asset classification change. Suppose if any, what are the NPAs identified during the course of statutory audit and what RBI inspectors they identify, if the variation is more than 15%, the banks are expected to publish in their annual report that what are the asset classification for, as per the statutory audit, what is the asset classification of the RBI inspectors. Apart from that, SEBI has come out with a dictum that the banks, whenever this variation is there beyond 10%, they must report to the SEBI within 24 hours of the receipt of the report from the Reserve Bank of India that this is the variation is there. This is another stringent requirement in the banks. Then let us look into the reasons for the divergences. See, RBI expressed provision against non-fund based limits. Generally, what happened, wherever the account goes bad, we make a provision for fund based limits. Non-fund based limits, though they have utilized, we don't look for the provision for the non-fund based limits. So now they expect that non-fund based limits also should be subjected to provision. And security-wise classification and omission of MOC for capital asset, that is another factor what you say. Non-recognition NPA date from pre-restructuring. So whenever restructuring takes place, the benefit of retaining the asset as a standard category is permitted. And the restructuring period may take, say, let us take, it may take a couple of 2 years time. Within 2 years, restructuring is implemented, it is successful, has come out, fine. The restructuring fails, then what is the benefit they have taken during the period of restructure implementation period, it will be taken out, and the asset date of NPA should be reckoned the pre-restructuring date. So this is the very important aspect we have to see. Wherever restructurings have failed, then we have to ignore total restructuring process and we have to see original date when it has account has become NPA. From that date, we have to calculate whether this asset will be remain as a substandard or doubtful category 1 or doubtful category 2 and so on. This is one of the area where it has resulted in divergence between RBI inspectors and statutory audit. And delayed implementation of resolution process. So generally they have given, whenever resolution process is there, they have given 180 days time. But then if at all any challenges, they say they are permitted another 90 days time. Within 270 days time, if this is not done, then this benefit of asset classification to continue as a standard will be withdrawn. That is one of the areas which omitted by the bank's management and statutory auditors. That is one area. And security value variations. The whatever security, because now many of the bank, the valuation report they obtain, the valuer they give three rates, three different values. So one is a fair market value he will give, distressed sale value will give, realizable sale value will give. Which value should be adopted? There is no clarity. This we have to see, particularly the credit policy of the bank. Every bank, please see, they are expected to come out with a credit policy duly approved by the board of directors. This policy is generally, it is required to be revisited and approved on an annual basis. In this credit policy, they should state it is the exhaustive credit policy. Then we can refer to the credit policy of the bank. So, what is the valuation? Which valuation should be adopted in this case? Then allowing concession to an account with financial difficulties and not treating it as a restructuring. So this is because many times we say the bankers will come out of please, or this is only temporary financial difficulties. That is not a restructuring. We have allowed to pay the installments after 3 months and all this. And that is not whatever change in the repayment schedule is made. It amounts to restructuring as per RBI's definition. Then improper computation of DP. This is majority cases. This is the problem. Drawing power variations are there. One is improper DP in DP variation will arise on account of treatment of paid creditors. Now every bank again they have to spell out in their credit policy. You have to see the credit policy how the paid creditors are to be treated. Another thing is whether the wrongful upgradation. Suppose an account has become downgraded, it has become NPA for want of non-payment of dues. The total dues arrears are they says about 10 lakhs. They may recover 2 lakhs. By recovery of 2 lakhs, that 8 lakhs outstanding will be, if you look, that will be less than 90 days norm. So bank they will argue that okay, it is not after recovery, it is not 90 days outstanding. Less than 90 days outstanding is there this arrears. So we are upgrading. So that is not permitted. In fact, this 12th November 2021 circular, RBI has come out very clearly, unless all the overdues are recovered by the bank, the account will not be qualified for upgradation. This is a very important point which you have to keep in mind. Then omission to consult security erosion. There is one requirement is in the IRAC norms, wherever if the account is classified as a doubtful also or standard. If the security value, there is a substantial erosion in the security value from the previous financial statements to current financial statements, the erosion is more than 50%, the account should be directly downgraded to doubtful assets. And if the erosion is more than 90%, then it should be treated as a loss asset. So this is one aspect which we have to take. Then when it comes to security valuation, again you say there is on CARO 2020 also there is a new clause is added. Is there any substantial variation in the security value given to the bankers at the time of loan application, and when the company happens to issue make an application under OTS, one-time settlement, what is the valuation is given? General practice is at the time of loan application, the asset value is there 10 crores. When you go for under OTS application, fresh valuation is there, value is only 2 crores. So that kind of situations should not be there. That we have to be carefully to see. Now, in fact, you please refer to Appendix 10 of the Institute Guidance Note for 2022, where they have given the reasons for the divergences. Then NPF symptoms we have to keep. Constant increase in stock and book-based statements. Now, stock statements they are furnishing, but we find that work in progress value substantially gets increased. Month on month, work in progress value will increase. Because the reason is WIP generally there no records will be maintained. For raw materials, records are maintained, finished goods records are maintained, stores and space records may be maintained. But work in progress, there will not be records maintained, so they will inflate in the work in progress. This is one symptom what you see with a substantial increase in the inventory. And development of BGs and LCs. So whenever development of BGs or LCs are there, if the amount is paid by the bank, it must be debited to the cash credit account or OD account. It should not be parked in a separate account. This is very important factor. You see, if at all any amount is parked in separate account for the purpose of computing the DP, you should see that whatever amounts paid and debited in separate account also be taken into consideration while working out the DP, and also whether outstanding balance is within the norms of the DP. This is important factor. And frequent return of checks also is indication of NPA system, and poor credit summation. Because in particular, wherever cash credit accounts are there, the transaction should be routed through cash credit. The credits in the account should be sufficient enough at least to meet the interest debits made in during the period, whether that is there or not, we have to see. And the circuitous RTP transactions. So generally what they do, related parties account, various parties account. Now I have come across one case in one of the bank. There are borrowers are there, about 8 borrowers, family members are there. Partnership firm, private limited company, and the director's accounts. So they have chosen the 5 branches of the same bank. One branch in Lalbagh Road, one branch in Cantonment, one branch in Rajaji Nagar, one branch in Jayanagar. So 3 accounts are one branch, another 2 accounts are another branch, another 2 accounts are another branch. Whenever the particular account is slipping to NPA, the funds are received from the same other branch of the same bank, and then the account is retained as a standard. But if you see the source of funds, how it has come, they say it has come from the account from other branch. When we go into details of other branch, what they say, that is again this either the same company or same borrower or other related party of the borrower. From that account it is transferred. There they have allowed overdrawings. As the overdrawing is not allowed in that bank and funds are not transferred, the account will become NPA. So this kind of circuitous transactions they carry out, and all that we have to be careful. And few pre-shipment credit extended but post-shipment action facilities are with other lenders. That is not a good sign at all. We have to see. And check purchase at the fag end of the year. System is they will make the check purchase at fag end of the year. That account continues, the check remains pending. After say about 25 to 30 days time, they reverse the entry. This kind of things will happen. Assigning different customer IDs of the same borrower, you have seen, that is opening LCs to BGs outside the CBS. This is very, very important factor we have to see. Whenever the LCs or BGs are opened, many of the places we have come across, they will not route through CBS. It will remain outside. What are the BG document and all, they will make, their branch manager will sign and give to the party. But that will not come in within the ambit of the court. So this is a very important aspect we have to see. And devolved LCs, BGs we have seen. Additional loans extended to sister concerns, and that we have talked already. Inflating the security value is fit in the system. And now question is this again security, where the collateral security is given. August 3 or 4 different facilities are there. Say collateral security value is 1 crore. Cash credit is there, term loan is there, bills account is there, collateral security. Now when you see the loan schedule statements, the 1 crore is given everywhere. Against term loan also security value is given 1 crore. Cash credit also security value is given 1 crore. The bill facility also is given security value. Actually, they should be distributed. They should divide according to the sanction terms. What is the security value? Total security value for all the facilities should not exceed 1 crore. This is the point which we have to keep in mind. Then DCCO, extended DCCO dates are implemented because wherever the new projects are there, date of commencement of commercial operations is very important factor. There they said that if it is a infrastructure projects, the time limit is there, they can extend up to 2 years. It is a non-infrastructure projects, time limit they can extend up to 1 year. That whatever the time extended is there, what is they have to feed in the system, in the CBS. The CBS will capture the status of account based on the date we have fed. The date is fed correctly fed as per the approvals we have to verify. Sometimes tenability of limits are not set in the system. Limit is, we have come across cases, limit is 50 lakhs, but in the system it is marked as 80 lakhs. So that kind of situations also will come because that system always will say that is out of the outstanding is within the limits, they will say. And also wherever there is a fraud, the ECGC claim, while making a provision, they say ECGC claim is eligible, that also will consider. But please mind it, once account is there is a fraud is there, then no ECGC claim will be entertained. So that should be ignored. And multiple currency extensions, particularly in case of working capital limits, they are expected to be renewed on annual basis. For various reasons, the extension will not happen. Pending the regular extension, they will give a currency extension. Currency extensions are permitted twice in a year, and the total period of currency extension should not cross 180 days. So there is one RBI circular of ad hoc limits and currency extensions on 21st August 2020. Please look into the circular whenever such cases are there. The some of the bank, they have got a practice of holding an operations. What is holding an operations? The cash rate limit is expiring. The branch will send up proposal papers for renewal proposals to the controlling sanctioning authority. For various reasons, sanctioning authority, they would not like to sanction the renewal. Pending the sanction of the renewal, they ask you continue the operations, holding an operations at this particular level only, they say. So that is not permitted. That practice should not be allowed to continue. And also wherever working capital facilities are there, we find that the transaction routed through current account. This is one of the reasons for that it is evergreening method, and also reasons for the account getting slipped and it will not come to notice of the branch management in a shorter period. So this practice is not permitted. In fact, RBI has come out that circular that no current account should be allowed to be continued wherever the cash credit facilities are extended. So this is the one point which we have to keep. Another thing, any account which is marked as a red flag. So what red flag means, wherever there is a suspicion activity of the borrower is there, when a red flagging is there, that thing, the bank's management has to carry out the investigation, and after investigation, they have to satisfy whether there is any fraud is there or there is no fraud. If the fraud is there, they should declare the account as a fraud. If there is no fraud is there, they should deflag it. For this, time limit is given only 6 months time. So within 6 months, whether the red flag is deflagged or declared as a fraud, this needs to be examined. And another important factor is RBI comes out with various reliefs for the different type of advances, different category of advances. Let it be agricultural advance, let it be MSME advance, or any kind of advances. So there, whatever reliefs are granted, the benefit of asset classification is only extended, but not income recognition. So that point which you have to keep in mind. And also data manipulations. You have to be very careful, because now what happens here, we have come across with several cases. The credits, they pass some dummy entry or a wrong entry. Say suppose one account, let us take a cash credit account is there, or a term loan account is there. The account, there is a overdue is there, 9 lakhs overdue is there. Because of the overdue, the account will slip into NPA. What they do before the threshold date, they pass one entry, 10 lakhs they debit and 10 lakhs credit in the same account on the same day. When you inquire the reason some wrong entry has occurred, the system has wrongly made that we have reversed that entry. You will also take in good faith, okay, some wrong entry has come and that is fine. But if you go into details, the system, whatever credit is there, it will capture, it will consider that a repayment. Then it will not recognize this account as a non-performing asset. So this kind of practices they make, that we have to be careful on that this thing. So how much time further? I think almost my time is getting exhausted, and the subject is very vast. Actually, I thought we could make. So what I feel is rest of the I think there is what we can see, that is normal topic. What I just wanted, at least we can, what our questions have been raised, whatever issues are there, we can have a discussion for about 5 minutes like that. I just would like to close this my presentation and let us open for the discussions. Anything is there? Hello. Mr. Srinivas or Mr. Pramod Hegde? Should I proceed further?
So far, no questions, sir. In chat.
I was told that only 90 minutes time will be there up to 4 to 5:30. So whether 5:30 should I close because it's already another 2 minutes is there for 5:30, or should I continue? This is what my issue. Of course, unless you intervene, I will keep continuing. Then if any there, we can stop that. The frauds in the banking industry. The bank frauds have jumped from more than twofold from 71,500 crores to 1,85,000 crores in the financial year 2019-20. Top 50 credit-related frauds constitute 76% of the total reported frauds. Credit-related frauds are major. The two top 50. That means major frauds have occurred. Rise in frauds in public sector banks is at 234% year on year. Average lag between the occurrence of and unearthing of the fraud is about 2 years. In case of large fraud, the gap is 5 years. That means the person who has perpetrating the fraud, he enjoyed for almost 5 years. It was not unearthed. But normal average period is about 2 years. I think the Mr. Srinivas has come into picture. Mr. Srinivas? Now it is time is getting, the allotted time is getting exhausted. So shall I keep at least for 5 minutes or 10 minutes for the question answers? Any questions are there, you can see, then we can just discuss the questions.
Request members, if you have any questions, you can please post on Q&A. Otherwise, we can take a break for 10 minutes. We can reassemble.
I'm not able to hear, Mr. Pramod. Can unmute? Should I proceed or should I break for the?
I don't see any questions at my panel. I'll get in touch with IT team and just check on that as well.
So right now we are not received any questions.
Sir, there is no question, sir.
Hello, Mr. Srinivas.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello.
Hello. Yes, sir. Tell me, sir. Hello. Hello.
I'm not getting the voice.
Hello. Nitin,
Sir, clear ಆಗಿದೆ. Clear ಆಗಿದೆ.
Mr. Pramod, I'm not able to hear you.
No, sir, I am actually not talking. Chairman is talking. So we have no questions yet.
Bangalore branch of SRCF ICF for Manohar Gupta, even in his busy schedule, 31st of March is presented in papers, and really it was a knowledge enriching session. I thank on behalf of Bangalore branch of ICA once again, and we'll move on to the second technical session of Venugopal Gella, sir. I welcome Venugopal Gella, sir, for this session. Welcome, sir. I request our secretary to give a brief introduction of the speaker.
Thank you, Chairman. CA Venugopal Ji is a founder partner of Ms. Messrs. Venu and Vinay, Chartered Accountants since 2002. He had secured 45th rank in All India CA final. He's an active speaker at ICI on GST, especially on technology and its implementation challenges. He's authored various industry-specific handbooks on GST. He's contributed to the technical guide on the GST audit released by ICI and other publication materials. He conducts workshops on filing of returns with ease use of automation. He has developed a lot of Excel-based free utilities on GST, like JSON reader, creating JSON file, GST invalidator, composition versus regulation decision analysis, GST audit working paper tool. He's a GST faculty for ICAI, conducted at various workshops and webinars. He's played an active role in drafting and design along with the GST and NIC. His other areas of practice includes design and development of internal control and process documentation, consulting in ERP implementation or migration, management consultancy for business analytics, and growth and design for management information systems. Apart from audits, he has hands-on coding in VBNet, Python, and he reviews database of designs. Here now I would like to present Mr. Venugopal ji, and I would like to welcome him for the dais. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Pramod. Thank you, Srinivas sir, for considering a session like this and at the beginning of the bank branch audit. I'm sure the participants would also be eager to upgrade their skills and enhance the quality of the bank branch audit. Members, the topic which is considered by the branch is the how to use the data analytics in filling up of the LFA. I would like members to put your questions in the chat box as and when the topic is being happening. Sometimes so happens that I would be covering some formula, explaining something maybe you wouldn't understand. So I will be interacting in between. Sir, we have time till 7 o'clock, right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. All right. So let me start the session. Honestly, in terms of the presentation, it's only one slide. I have a couple of slides I have put up because everything it will be in Excel practical working. Let me think.
Excuse me, Mr. Venugopal.
Yes, sir.
I just because I have got but I will not be in a position to take benefit of your presentation. And as Mrs. Srinivas put in, there are not any queries are there. I know you are capable of handling the queries. I just announce that my success. You please handle. Then thank you very much. I will leisurely. I will listen to from the YouTube whatever presentation is made. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Srinivas.
Thank you, Gupta sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
And like very happy to be part of this session along with Manohar Gupta sir. Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes. Okay, so let me actually skip. See why I'm using only an Excel, because Excel is something which is known and it has a good analytical capabilities and more easy for documentation. Today, documentation is the more important in the whether peer review or anything. So let me stop the presentation and so I have made some material for our discussion. So let me copy that to today's program. All right. So what are the things that are there for learning to the members when you are doing the bank branch audit? So these are some of the formulas which definitely are handy, and that is something which we will be using in Excel. And of course, the first and fundamental is converting data to Excel. Yeah. So these are the some basic information one should be aware of while doing the bank branch audit. And the objective of today's session is to ensure that you get a fair idea of how to use this. And once you use this, so what is the other information which I would like to you make some analysis basis the data. Yeah. So here are different workings. By learning this data, by learning this, what you are seeing on the left side, the activities to do, these are the various activities I will demonstrate so that you can also execute. But to do this, these are the basic functions or formulae I would expect everyone to be aware of. They should be knowing. And again, feel free to interrupt. Once in a while, I'll be looking at the question and answer in the Q&A section. I request participants to put the question and answers in the Q&A section and not in the chat section. And whenever of course, today the technology is a very pivotal role. So if my audio or video is not coming in between, I request the branch members to call and interrupt. Okay. Let us start with the couple of basic things, which is converting data into Excel, converting any data into an Excel. See, when you get the data from the bank, right? Say for cash or deposits or financial statements or anything, whenever I get a data, the data would be into a text file. You know, it would be into a text file like this. So the data is in multiple columns. There is a data. This is not an Excel file. The data is in multiple columns. So this is the balance sheet, or if I go to my analysis of yeah. So if I go to analysis of any of the loan files which is there, which you will be downloading from the thing, it will all be in different format. And I've just given the names the way the names were there. So you will find the data, everything into a different format. Sometimes it would be .zz, even that's also text file or a plain text file. So the data always comes to us in this format. And from here is what we have to do the audit. And the objective of the audit is to issue the audit report and LFR. Here is the guideline which we have received from RBI, saying that okay, the long form audit report has to be presented, and I would recommend everyone to go through these guidelines which has been given by the RBI. And if I see the long form audit report, Annexure 2, this is for the branch auditor. And if you notice, the guideline principles which has been given for coverage of LFR is to have an overall objective of the branch board audit should be to have a transaction testing. So they are expecting you to test the transaction and provide input to the central statutory auditor on adequacy of implementation of various policies. Then they're also asking us to look at the threshold fixed for different purposes for comments in the LFR and whether they are above the threshold or not. Then they're also asking us for verification of data integrity related controls. So this is very beautifully simple, crisp expectations which have been set, and the LFR is there. Of course, I'm not going through all the aspects of the LFR. I am going to cover some aspects of the LFR. Now, in a classroom, the way I would work is I would explain these formulas one by one, and I will go to the actual doing. just to have that, since this is in a virtual, people may not get it as things. So what I thought is I will explain the formulas again here, and again, once again, when we go to the data, actual data when we are working, right? So I will start with a simple thing, which is converting data into Excel. And I'll start with our cash. Now in the cash, if you see, we have an expectation whether it is in joint custody and whether the ATM balances have been checked and is it matching. So what is the limit which is set by the controlling authority? So we have these questions, and for every question in the LFA, I would expect members to have some working back in your audit working paper. Like this LFR is already available in Excel, Word format, or Google Sheets, however people use it. So you can start using it. Yeah. So let's start with the simple thing. So let me open an Excel file. Pramod, just to confirm whether my Excel, everything, the Word, text files, everything is properly visible, right? And my audio is clear.
Sir, audible, visible, sir.
Okay, all right, thanks. Okay, so for the participant, having a genuine Excel is very important so that you can get the right formula and updated things. When you go to the bank branch, you carry your laptop. Most of the times banks will give you a system. If they're giving a system and the system has open office, and if you're not comfortable, then you can use your system. Else use the bank audit, the system provided by the branch. Sometimes the data you cannot copy because the pen drives would be disabled. So you can have the data be emailed to you. You can put it into a common folder and email to you. In some branches, some banks, you have this like little struggle in getting the data. So, but as long as when you give the confidence that this is for the audit, they will be sharing the data. I have never experienced in extraction of the data from the bank any issue, right? Okay, so we will start with the first learning object of converting data into Excel in the context of filling my LFR first point, which is cash. Let me go to the presentation data, Bangalore branch, cash. So there is a cash balance file, and friends, you should always ask, no, what are the various reports? For example, let me quickly pick. So any bank, any branch, they have different software, CVS. Now, what I'm showing you in the screen is, say, for FlexCube. In FlexCube, if you want to get a loan balance for term loans, you should use a report called LN707. And if you want the customer wise, line wise listing, LN632. ODCC, SB account, deposits accounts have a different functionality. The OD reports are in CH. The SB current account, they are in CH category. So you need to know which is the report to access based on the different software. Like this is for FlexCube. But if you go to Finacle, like FlexCube, you have business reports also. But if you go to, let's say, Finacle has a different code. So for different activities in different softwares, you have a different code. Now, most of the times you might not be aware. You should ask, sir, I need this report. In fact, what is not possible in the audit report is what you cannot imagine or what you cannot ask. If you ask, you will get a solution. It's just that we restrain most of the times in asking. Now, let me start with the cash. There is something called cash balance report. Okay, there is a cash balance report. So a report from one date to another date. So you get on a different date, there's a cash balance, right? So what I'm doing is, let me open the file. So I'm opening the file. Control O is the opening file, and I'm just browsing to this folder called cash, and let me access this file. If you see carefully, in this folder, when I was trying to access the file, there are actually no files here, but I have actually copied from here, and there was supposed to be one file here called cash. That file is missing. The reason being, you are trying to open an Excel file, but that's a text file. So for next to file name, you can see there is something called Excel file. You select all files. You select all files, you will get the file called whatever the file you want to access. There's a text file that's available. So I'll say open. Another simple way, just do a Control A, copy and paste it. Once you get that, you will have a 3 text wizard data. It's a 3 text wizard data. And you can always use in the steps, there is delimited or fixed width. Whenever the data is, you can see that there is comma in it. So you know that, okay, it's a comma separated. So you can use a delimiter called comma. I will use next, and it is automatically, you can see there are lines that have come. That lines indicate their columns. And in case if you want to have the date defined, you can say, okay, yes, this is a date. This is in the date format. So you can say it is my date, date, month and year, and I say finish. So you have the data. Now, what is my objective? My objective is the branch maintaining cash balance, which is within the limit specified by the bank authority or not. So that's your objective. So you have some data of the cash reporting balance file. So you got cash balance report file. Whenever you get the data from a text file to Excel file, please see on the top of the screen, you can still see on the, let me zoom if I can, on the top of the screen, you can see this is still the 02 cash balance 2018-19 text file only. Since it is still text file, let me save this file. Let me save as. So I will be saving this as my cash working. Yeah. So here instead of this, I am saving it as Excel and saying it as my cash working. Now it has become an Excel file. That's the first step. Second, have a proper nomenclature. So this, I will say this is my raw data, and always make a working of it. For some reason, you will always lose the data or you will overwrite some file. So I'm just making a copy of it. I'm making a copy and creating a copy of it in the same thing. You can see there's another file, another sheet that got created. So I am saying instead of raw data, this is cash analysis. This is my cash analysis. So in terms of your learning curve, we have completed how to convert the data into an Excel. The next important thing, once the data is converted into Excel. Yeah, so there is a 3-step wizard. there was a 3-step wizard. We understood whether it is delimited or a fixed width. Whenever you know there is a comma or a pipe or any information, you will use delimited. Otherwise, you go to the fixed width. Then comes you have to format the data. It's like removing unwanted rows, putting the headers and everything. You got to do formatting of the data so that the data is usable. So let's do the formatting of this file. So I come to the date. Let me also parallelly put some of the formulas which are using. There are a lot of shortcut keys, and make notes, whatever the notes you can make, and this recording would also be available to you. But when you use the shortcuts, it's always easy. So I'm using Control Shift plus N quickly to navigate to the end. So I'm here, I'm pressing Control Shift N. So I have reached the end, and Alt D, F and F to apply filter, apply the filter. Now, whenever you are trying to do Alt D, F, if you are doing for the first time, people try to do Alt D, F, not necessary. You press Alt, you can remove your key. Here is like I press Alt, I remove my key, then D, F. So, yeah, so I have applied the filter. Then I want to remove unwanted data. So I'm just selecting these lines, date, blank. So all of it delete, and Alt plus E plus D. Alt ED. So it says delete the entire row. I say OK. And I want to see all the data. So show all. For show all DF and ES. So all DFS, I am able to see everything. Then auto-word the data, Alt plus O plus C plus A, right? So Alt OCA to have auto-word, you have automatically have set it. So now just do some data cleansing. So I don't need this header in selecting the data. Freeze always the trans. Whenever you are working, freeze pane, so that is Alt W and F. So there's like I come here, Alt W F. So advantage of freezing the pane is when I go down, I am retaining what is there in my top. I am retaining an empty. So now let us just do some simple the data cleansing. So there is nothing here. This is 0. This is blank. There's nothing here. This is 0, and there's nothing here. So technically, I don't need this column. I can do Control minus or Alt ED and C. Both are the same. Both work. So I'm just saying this is balanced. All right. So now we have got the data on various dates, right? Now let us prepare the very important thing, a very important thing which we have to in learning is, so this I have, so for me it's easy to track. So the next thing I will explain you is pivot. So it's very important that you understand pivot, all right? So this is the data. Instead of minus balance, I just want it to be in positive. So how do I do positive balance in one go? I can just do -1 and multiply with this data with -1. Sometimes in case, ideally it shouldn't be. Generally, the way softwares are designed, debits would be minus and credits would be positive. So I'm just converting this. I'm multiplying all the data. I'm multiplying the data with -1. So it has become +1, and you can use apply comma style. Always apply comma style and keep the data with the 2 digits so that you know what you are dealing with, right? So this is the data you have. Select the data, Control Shift down is in a go it comes it, or just do Alt A, sorry, Control A, you get select the data. So you can also write data selection is Control plus A. Yeah. Now let us insert a pivot table, simple pivot. So pivot is Alt plus B plus P, or you can go to insert and you can click on pivot table. Anything, both work. This is the data. You choose the range from where you want to use and put it into a new worksheet. Say OK. Whenever you are working with the data, this is another thing very important, that make sure that you don't keep the names like this, sheet 1, sheet 2, all these things. That is not good. So make sure you do the right nomenclature. So let's just stop. So I will say cash pivot. Now what do we want? Let's say I want my date and my balance. Automatically, the moment I gave the date, it became quarter, and the various dates, the date has come. Yeah. So let me remove the year also. So why am I again putting pivot? Now, the way you would want to do with this is you also want to quickly analyze what is the balance which you have. So I can, instead of sum, if you notice on my right side, the way the pivots work is you have the pivot data. Filter is to apply the filter. It is a matrix. What do you want to have on columns? What do you want to have on the rows? What do you want to have on the balance? Now, instead of my balance of sum, I am putting the balance as average. So let me put this as an average balance. So in the value, I am setting this as my average. And since it is single date, it is an average. So now instead of date, let me also take the balance here. Now you notice, okay, there's a balance, and the balance is what I am doing. What am I trying to do? One good thing the Excel has is clustering. So to my data, I am saying that just try to group this. Yeah. So the moment I say group, it says pick what is starting, what is ending, and it is grouping. So it has done some grouping analysis. So now you can actually see that my data between this range to this range, there is so much of the information. I can get again one more time the balance here, and it says on 242 days. Now look at this. See, there are total 365 days data. So you can see on your count. So let me zoom a bit. So you can see there are 365 days data, and you can see the average balance is 1 crore 41 lakhs. Now let us come to this analysis here and ask this question. What are the questions which RBI is asking? Whether they are significantly varying with the limit which is set. Now let us get a simple answer. What is my average balance? Right? So the formula is average. You can just say average of this. So it's this 1 crore 41. What was my minimum balance? Is equal to minimum of this data. And what was my highest balance? What was my maximum balance on any given date? So you can say max of this, right? So you know on some days it was this. Now let us say the threshold limit. So the limit set by the in the branch. Okay, let us say they have set a limit of 1 crore 50 lakhs. So I'm saying, let us say the limit which is set is 1 crore 50 lakhs. Now you want to see on how many days the limit has exceeded, right? So now let us use a simple formula. So I will say a status. And let us learn the next thing called if formula. Let me put it as these are completed. Let me say so that I ensure by the time the session is over, I complete all the 2 lines. Okay, so let us understand an if formula. Now, pretty simple, very much required. If this balance is greater than the limit which is set, 1.5 crore. I'm just phrasing it so that when I move down it, then this is, I am saying report. So you can see there's a comma, that is value true. Else, I'm putting one more comma. What is the value false? Ignore. All right. So it's saying ignore. So I can just drop down and I can just fill everything. So control. So there are some dates the data is available to report, some dates the data is to be ignored. So now, 1 minute. My system got frozen. Yeah. So now let us see on how many days we could the date they are exceeding and how many days they are not exceeding. So I'm just copying this and pasting it here. Sorry, pasting it as a value. So people so let us also learn the next formula, which is our sum if and count if. Now, so on how many days I have to report is equal to count if. I just want to count on how many days. This is my range and the criteria is to report, and on how many days I can ignore, right? So on 106 days it has exceeded the limit. Let's say the criteria is not to 1.5 crore. Let's say the criteria is 2 crore. Now automatically you can see on 84 days it has exceeded. 84 days also is substantially higher. It's substantially higher. So people want to know how the formula is, and I'll just show you the formula which we have used. So I have said if my B2, which is the balance, is exceeding the balance to be reported, then report it, else ignore. This is the if formula, and I'm just counting, and for counting I'm just saying count if the number of items in column C, if it is exceeding, then report it. So now you can see from your pivot table. So if you see the bracket which we are looking at is more than 2 crores, the kind of range. So there are very smaller number of days where the data exceeded average balance more than 2 crores. So or here these many days, which is around 82, 83 days, these are the days that it has exceeded. So by this way you have something to report on what days you have analyzed. Most of the time the earlier I noticed is like here the answer would be yes, no, nil, not applicable. I think we should get away with that kind of simple answers, but we should be going yes. During the observation, the limit set is so much. On these days, the limit has exceeded. And then you can specifically ask, can you show me that has there been an approval or an intimation that, okay, this balance has been exceeded, these are the reasons. Why was it not been sent to chest? So you can actually go and have that been asked, right? So any doubts to anyone? So now we have completed our count if also. Some if any, don't worry, I'll cover it again. Any questions to participants till this? In case if you have any questions, put your questions in the Q&A. If you are putting your questions in the chat, again I have to see. Okay, there's a question in the chat. How to extract the cash balance report? Okay, sir. Again, Ranjan, I would say that you ask. Like there are n number of like I have shown you. There are n number of reports. There are reports, substantial reports available. Now it has to know how to get everything comes into a text file. So I think that the easiest thing is to how to get that file. The toughest job is after getting the file, what I have to analyze. Yeah. Hope this answers Ranjan. Okay. The next thing, let us. Okay. Any questions to anyone on pivot or if count if anyone have any questions? By the way, this is a virtual session. The only way I can understand whether you are participating, you are getting is even if you just respond, okay, no questions, at least I know that the other side, the audience are there and listening. So in the chat box, you can just say no questions or understood, this is clear, we can move to the next step. And at least I know that the system is working and my audio, video, everything is visible. I got one response, Nagaraj sir, thank you. Other participants, any questions? Ravi Shankar is asking a question, is there a system of automatically generating a folder containing all static standard reports after EOD in all PSUs? Answer is yes. Banks have always pretend that there is no such system in their bank to avoid providing the files. Ravi Shankar sir, if they are giving you an audit system, in your system, you just need to ask, and audit is an art. How skillfully you intrude and ask them to show the file is where you should be knowing. And we've been doing bank audit. It's like I'm sure each one of you are here. Average has around 10 years experience of the bank branches. Average. So definitely there are people with 30 years and etc. So I'm sure by now we are skillfully we can intrude in looking at various data. Okay. So with this, I close on the cash system. Next to the next point, which is there in LFR, right? So generally 0.2, 3, 4 are not applicable. Balance with other branch, investments, and the outside India. So going to the point number 5, very important. Some big queries appearing on the screen. Is it so for other? Is the square gone? Okay. Don't put two questions privately. If you are putting questions, I want you to put it in the chat so that it's easy for me to see. The branch people, if you are seeing that there is something. The next thing is, it is asking us to answer the following question. They are asking us to analyze the large advances. And large advances are those, the outstanding amount is in excess of 10% of the total, fund-based, non-fund-based, or 10 crores, whichever is less. So for this, let us analyze one loan file. Let me take one loan file. There is one LN707. Okay, let me use this file and let's analyze this file. All right, so from cash, let me go to loans and LN707. I'm opening this file. Again, 3-step wizard. This time I am using, instead of a delimiter, I will be using fixed width. Why I will be using fixed width? Because if you look at my data, the data do not have, if you can see, the data do not have any comma. There is some fixed gap. So instead of delimiter, I will be selecting it as fixed width and say next. Now, the moment you give fixed width, you have to define the width. And please note, whenever it's a fixed width, numbers are always right aligned, text is always left aligned, so that you know where to apply the columns. So I know for sure this is my end for this. So I can put a column here and I can put a column here, and the data is starting. I don't want this. I can put a column here and this is some date is there. So I know I can put a column exactly here to here. I can put a column and I'm putting a column here. By the way, how do I put the column? Just click it. You are putting the column, and there is some rate of interest. What is there on the top? There's a liability. I'm just putting a column here, right? So you can just little bit, if you want, you can do it. All right, so finish. So now you have the data with you. You have the data that has come. So first and foremost, you can just save this file as XLS. This is what you have to do. Otherwise, you will be losing all the work. So LN707, I am putting it into Excel file. The second thing, make a copy of it. Otherwise, you will lose some error. So I will save this as my raw data, and I will save this as LN707 formatted. Right. So now I just need to get the data in order. So first and foremost, always auto fit the column. The formula to auto fit the, we can close the cache. We have used it. LN707, we have used it. So let me put this as formula so that at the end I can share you this file. So this is a formula, and now if you see here, everything is good, but you can notice that my customer name, some information is actually one line below. So some information is in proper, but some information has gone one line below, which is especially customer name. So what do we do is I will just move one line up. I'm just increasing the cells up. Okay, you can see now all this data is in one line, and my liability is also needs to move one line up. I'm saying I move the liability to one line up, so I can now see data coming. Sometimes you see this issue of this plus. You can import it and set it, or you can set this file while importing. You can set it as a text and import, or you can just set it as number and you can make it as 0. Also, this is your account number. So now you can see that, okay, your name and everything is properly visible into one place. Your name and number is properly visible into one place. So let's just clean up the data. I would request people to pay attention. So I'm just making serial number, old account. There is a new account. Now we are doing the cleaning of the thing. This is customer name. What is my open date, LOD date, ROI, and this is my closing balance, right? So freeze the thing. Let's just now start clearing unwanted data. So clear unwanted data. So how do I clear? Let me first select my blank as a total, old account, name of the account, so various things are there. See whether this is what you don't want. You can see some customer names also is showing up. So you have applied a filter to a wrong place. So in your serial number, yeah, this is the best thing. In your serial number, yeah, you don't need this data, right? So you just select it and remove it. Select this and remove it. So you are cleaning and getting the right data that is required for the audit. Now, in a while, you will analyze all the questions that have been given in your LFAR. How do we pick? How do we do? All those things will come up. Let me show some applications so that it's a little faster. Don't get this. Wait for a moment. So and always have ensure a good system where you can process it faster. Let's do it quickly again. We were in the loan file. We were analyzing LN 707, the Excel file. So let's open that. Yeah. So this is your raw data. This is your formatted data. And let's quickly, we had the issue with the customer name. We need to move it up one cell, and we had an issue with the balance. We have to move it in one cell. Now get the serial number, old account number, new account number, then this is the customer name and the open data, all this is there. So I don't need the header, and we don't need, let's now clean up the data. I am clearing the blank file. So I have removed the blank column. Then we will start applying pivot table. So we have done the pivot table. So now it is very important that we understand the range and VLOOKUP. This is what now we are going to understand. These two functions, the range and VLOOKUP, will actually get you to write all the questions. The questions, one is analyzing the large borrower accounts, and the purpose, by the way, they have said is while you are analyzing the large borrower accounts, they are asking you to examine all the transactions. Okay, the specific where the threshold is done, so the comment is expected by them in detail, and for the rest they are expecting us to do the balancing. Yeah, not sure why my Excel is behaving a little weird today. Give me a moment. Just give me a moment. Let me just switch the system to a different system because the Excel, yeah, it started working. Yeah, good. Okay. Okay. Let me restart my Excel. 1 minute. And maybe I'll disable the video for a moment so that the bandwidth is also saved. Yeah. Okay. There are questions in the chat. Okay. So now there are some empty lines that needs to be deleted. So this is the line that are, we remove all the unwanted lines. So I am removing this lines which are there. So these unwanted lines have been deleted. So now all that we have to do one by one, get out of all the data and make sure that we get a right detail. So there's a product name. We definitely need the product name and the account, the number. Let us do the number alignment. So if you notice, the product is actually there in the account number. So there's an account number and your product is somewhere, it is actually visible in the account which you are doing. So the product is visible, right? So this is 603, this is 601. So somewhere here inside, so 1472 is indicating the branch, then 601, 602 is indicating your product. So given that this is there here, you can also say, okay, fine, given that I have that data, I can also ignore all this. So this is all the information I am removing, right? So all the information has been removed. Now let us start working on the data. Always when you're working, make sure you check your file size. Sometimes when you do a copy paste, it will be in MB. So it should always be in some few KB so that it's easy to work. So now here is the data. From here onward, we will be making various analysis to that data. So I am just inserting a blank thing and we call this as helper column. So let's say what is my product code. Here the product code is 601. This is 603. where is the product code starting from? After 4 digits, right? So you can say is equal to mid of, select this, comma 5, comma 3. So starting from 5th digit, 3 digits is your product code. So you can get this till the end. You got your product code. Now, what does product code means? You should know the name, right? So create one sheet called assumptions. Create some sheet called assumptions, and let's get the what those assumptions. Let's get those assumptions, also a clarity of those assumptions. So you have something called product here, and this is the product name and the code. Okay, so let's just get those assumptions set. So 601 means you have the next to the name, you have the code. So now let us get the next thing to learn is Vlookup and creating a name range. Let us learn these two, creating a name range and Vlookup. So that how do we work with the data? And I'm sorry, I'm not sure why the Excel is little slow today. And our activities for us to do is product wise outstanding, year wise outstanding, and there is a sample selection, mortality, various questions which are there in our LFR. Let us now get all these questions of which are there in LFR be resolved. Thinking Excel is yeah. So here, so we can set it. This is my product name, code, and my name. So we also need to understand the function called either there is a text join to join the text, or concatenate. Okay, concatenate, where I want to like concatenate this, so it became is like in one go. So the formula that you can use is concat. So the formula either you can use concat or ampersand symbol. Like the ampersand symbol is, it is this and this. You can use both, it's like both works the same. So let's just use concatenate these two texts, and I'm till the end. This is what we have created, different types of loans, special them as values. So let us get the product name, right? So this is code and your name. Now, whenever you are working, so we want to get in my data, this is a product code, I want to get in my product name. So how do I get my name? Is equal to Vlookup. So look this value, the product name, in this assumptions sheet. So from here to here, this data, comma, my result is in second column, so I use comma 2 and comma. True is approximate match, 0, false is the nearest match. You can use 0 or false. You can say false and close. Now it is not finding this because this is in text. This is in here. It is in number. So all that I do is I just multiply it with 1 because it becomes a number. So now you can see all the data it has come. The biggest problem with the VLOOKUP or whenever we are using, we forget to freeze the data. So let me now freeze the data. How I put F4 to this data, the data gets frozen. So you have all the details. But again, the problem, the way we are working it is we really don't know what this assumptions means, from where the data is coming. So whenever you are working with the data and when you are using VLOOKUP multiple times, you really don't know from where the data is coming. So here you can also define in my formula name manager, I can create a new name called as product code list. Product code list. I've just created a new name. The advantage is I can use it in my thing. Instead of selecting all this thing, I am just saying, give me this in my product code list. Look at this in my product code list and say, give me the column 2. And now you can actually look at this formula difference. So whenever you are using a formula with the name, you have a formula. Like earlier, the first formula is saying that look K2 in the product code list. The second formula is saying look it in the assumption. So if someone looks at it tomorrow, they can easily understand, okay, I'm trying to look for it in the product code list. All right. So that's the advantage of giving name. Now, then there is a open date, LOD date, everything. So these details are there. Now you can do some kind of analysis of this data. So how do I do analysis? So I just select the data and apply a filter, apply a pivot. So I will say loan pivot, and let's say my product name in my row and my liability. You can now clearly know the data all this while was a huge data. Now it is becoming information. Data to information is very important. Data to information is very much important. I can know this data which is there. Let me sort this largest to smallest. So you can see there is totally 27.8 crores is the portfolio of this branch. This branch has 27.8 crore portfolio. Predominant is housing finance. Predominant is housing finance. Now, let me create multiple types of liabilities. You can also do an IVS. So whenever you created, you got, you might be wondering why I've created so much of this. I will change this data. Instead of some of the thing, I will be showing this value as a percentage to the grand total. So housing loan account to 43%. Then let us also change this to count. And so values as a percentage of the grand total. Now you can clearly see that there are, sorry, this is to be changed to count of liability. Yeah. So now you can clearly see there are 891 accounts and predominant loans are housing finance. So this way you are able to really understand a snapshot of the branch. So whenever you are doing the audit, so which means you can assign to someone to know, okay, what are the conditions to check in a house finance or education loan or a mortgage loan. Now this accounts to 80%. This top 5 accounts to 81% of the total portfolio, right? So which means you're covering substantial amount. So the activities to do is to get a product wise outstanding and the loan account analysis. This is what we have done by understanding a pivot table. Now let me show some more detailed insights to the data. Let me pick up another loan file, right? Let me pick up another loan file. So, okay, there is an irregularity. Yeah, okay. This is a CSV file, so I can quickly use delimiter as the comma separated, and let me take this file. So here is the another loan file, which is the comma separated. So let's always make sure that we make it into Excel workbook and make a copy of it. This is your original dump, and this is your working of loan file. So let's quickly with this data. Yeah. So here you have a lot of data. It's just that you need now the serial number and the loan to be, you need to get the loan thing. So what you can do is, if this is a number, if this is a number, then you want this is the thing, else take the above value. So you can quickly get the OD. Sorry. If this is a number, take the above one, else you take the right side one. This is the formula. So now you can see that we are filling the details with whatever the loan type it is. So knowing the formula is very important. So this is your loan type. Now you can quickly remove unwanted data. Now you can quickly remove your unwanted data. Removing all my blanks, which is your product total, etc. Yeah, so you have your data for your analysis. Let us now understand very important formulas which are there in pivot to understand the data. So there is something called balance. I will explain you more, and there is an NPA date, etc. So we have the questionnaire in the LFAR asking you to check sanctioned during the year. Are there any quick mortality? And there is an NPA account wise, but customer wise it's not there. That's what you are asked to do it. So how do you do it? So let's quickly now use the NPA period. Let's say my start date and end date and my year, and say loan starting from 1980, and a loan end of the month of this. So you can have the data as old as this. So you can set up your sanction date to the end date to ensure that there is a quick mortality. So I'm just defining a loan period, a loan table. So you can know from which loan they have sanctioned, when they have sanctioned, all those things. Year wise, I've just given a simple formula. So now I'll be saying this as my year table. You can also understand why we need this. So let's say okay. Yeah, ensure there is no blanks in between. So let's say sanction year. When is this sanction? You can easily use a Vlookup. You will say Vlookup, this is your date on which the loan has been given in your year table, and it's there in the third column. Now you cannot get an exact match. You will get an approximate match. So use this as true. So this is your sanction year. And when is your NPA? So you also need to know quick mortality. I'll explain you that. So if it is an NPA, when did it become NPA? So which means if there is a value here, you want to check the value for the NPA is in column N, right? So in your, let me zoom this. So NPA is in your column N. So I am saying so there's a formula called if error. If you are encountering error, you can always restrict saying because it's not an NPA, you can, if there is an error, nothing. So you can just copy this all the way to your end and you got sanction year and NPA year. Now let us do a quick analysis of this data. Let us do a quick analysis of this data. So I'm just applying a filter. I'm applying a pivot for this data. So again, let us first do the clustering. So how do we do the clustering? I'll take the balance outstanding in my values. Same balance outstanding here. So it is same, but let us just apply the cluster. Right click. You can just do a grouping. It will give you highest, lowest to the high. So you know there are loans starting from 1,600 up until so much. And this branch has 146 crores is the portfolio of this branch. Always use a comma step and try to get the cluster properly. So as we have seen in the earlier thing, you can also get a percentage, so values as a percentage of grand total. Now you can see there are 853 accounts, okay, which is 65% have only this. Like if I audit some top accounts, all right, if I audit some top accounts, let's say I want to audit these accounts. If I audit this 22 accounts, these 22 accounts will automatically account for 15%, while it was only some 1,300. So this way you can also see if are there any large advances which you can audit, which you want to do an audit of it. So this is a simple way, a kind of a Pareto analysis. You can do it. You will get a hold of the data. Then you also need to know what is the loan type. So you can quickly get what type of loans this branch is carrying. Predominantly, there are mortgage loans. So you get the analysis. So every time when you get an analysis, just copy this, put it into another sheet, give it as working details to the staff, say that, okay, go and check. Now, let's say loan sanctioned during the year. So we have the sanction year. So you can apply the pivot just to know by sanction year. Get the sanction year. So these are the loans. Say 2021, there are around 10% of the loans which have been 120 loans have been sanctioned during the year. Now you want to see NPA date to the loan date. So if it is an NPA, like let's apply, if an account is, if the account is NPA, how long it has become an NPA? So is there a quick mortality, which is, there is a formula called date difference between your NPA date and your sanction date, and you want the month in how many you can apply a simple NPA date minus advances. Yeah. So between this, there are 59. In 59 days, this has become NPA. So now you can know that, okay, then you specifically you have to comment anything more than 12 months. You can just rounding it off. So number of months, let's apply a quick mortality thing. And so anything you want anything less than 12, right? Now you can see the loans which have been sanctioned. Let us say this was the last year data, the loans sanctioned in 2021. These loans, they have been sanctioned on 3rd September 20 and 18th May 20. They became NPA on 1st Jan 21 and 12th October 20. So these are quick mortality. So you have a reporting requirement in the thing, how many of them have become quick mortality. So how many have been sanctioned during the year. So all these things you will be applying it here, and you can just put a filter. And whenever you are putting a filter and you want to extract, let's say you want to see this one specific account or 120 account sanctioned year, you just double click it. All the list will be extracted automatically by the system. So these are the various aspects that one have to do. So we have seen the range and range creation also. So yeah, so now let us get into the next part of our the discussion in activities to do financial statements. So you always get the financial statements from the branch. The financial statements from the branch would also be available. These financial statements would be there again in a text file. These financial statements would be there in a text file. So you'll get a financial statements into this text file. All that I would say that you extract the financial statement from the text file, you put it into an Excel file. Put it in Excel. Now we know how to put the data into an Excel file. So once you put the data into Excel file, you prepare same grouping, the trial balance you get each month over month, copy the trial balance, generate it each month, copy one below the down, just keep dump the data. Once you dump it, you have a proper grouping that you can give it in the TV, saying that, okay, fine, if this is my bank ledger name and what is my parent, and where do I group, whether it is under deposits. If it is deposit, so it is a balance sheet item under assets liability. So you make one grouping nomenclature. All that you will do is you apply that to this data. Now once you get it, it's done one pivot of P&L and balance sheet. So you have the data month wise. So I can, let me just collapse all. You can get the data month wise, April, May, June. So you have the data, all the data up month wise information. Now you can expand to see whether this is a, like there is a 7 lakhs, but 16 lakhs, 32 lakhs, 39 lakhs, 48 lakhs. So now if you are seeing anomalies month over month, you can actually question if something is missing, right? So it's very important that we know how to extract the data. And when you are preparing the P&L, you can use a simple sum if formula. And when you use a sum if formula, this is the date of April. I just changed the heading to get it as May. You get all the details, values which are there for the month of May. You got the values of the May. Yeah, so that way there's another way you can also present the data, because the trial balance sometimes would be in incremental fashion. So you want to reduce the data which was already there. So you can easily use it. And once when the data is there and it is in a little larger, all that you will do is you can group it. For grouping, you need to know grouping alt. So for grouping of the data, you need to know how to use alt plus shift and a right arrow key. So the moment you do that, alt shift right arrow key, it is asking you to group the rows. So, but I don't want it into the grouping is showing into the left side down. Instead of down, you want to, yeah, you can see here, there's a data which is grouped, which is here. So what you can do is in your data tab, you can set this and go to data grouping. I'll say I want it on the top. Now you can see that your operating expense, your interest expense, right? Your other income, I'm just grouping. Just one function will enable you to automatically group the data and present it in a simple way. Now it's much easy visible to you. You want to understand, you can just press the press button. You can easily see the expanded data and you get the data. So in your activities to do, you can prepare a P&L summary, balance sheet summary, the TV month-wise and analysis of the report. The next thing which is there in your LFR after the loans and the financial statements, the next thing which is there on the schedule. So there is a schedule where your current assets, current liabilities over 6 months, anything is there. You can check for it, age-wise breakup of the outstanding entries. You can get the age-wise breakup of the outstanding entries. So there would be a text file. You can get the age-wise outstanding of the file, and that also you can convert. And let me just open the file. Yeah. So the age-wise analysis of the outstanding file, even that gets converted into easily each, yeah, there's an age-wise analysis. So now you know the other assets which are there in the balance sheet. So this is what BGL age-wise. I have formatted it and just applied a pivot. Then there is something called cash disbursed in customer account, not some 2,000 rupees, ATM cash excess. So they are found. So you have the data, it's like this. And how long this is there, you can just filter. There are lines. Now you know there are items outstanding from 2016, 2017. In one go, you can, anything more than 6 months, you have to comment. So here in one go, you can easily comment, okay, this is the age outstanding from this long. So that's another thing that you should be able to do. So there are the file name, which is called the age-wise breakup of all outstanding entries. Imagine the CBS is also like an ERP system like Tally. Like in your Tally, let's say you're posting a sales entry and you have a receipt. Against the receipt you're offsetting, so it gets knocked off. Likewise, there is an underlying entries for each ledger. It should get posted and knocked off. If it is not, then you can see, okay, these are outstanding from so long, and if something is on the receivable side, you should be even more careful and comment that, okay, it is outstanding for a pretty longer period. So friends, these are the various things which I wanted you to work on for the LFR: cash, loans, financial statements, schedules, and deposit. When you get the deposit file, you can quickly check on the FD whether the lien marking is there or not. It is a simple filter that needs to be applied. So I have covered all the activities that we want to do, and this is our balance sheet file. This is aging analysis. These are the formulas. So let me just copy and put it in the chat for you to take it for your consumption. And yeah, so I think we have covered all the things that were expected that needs to be done. So let's see if any of the participants have any questions. So let's look at the questions. So it's 7 o'clock. Back to the organizer. Any questions to the participants? Is there any formula where you got struck, or anything where it is specifically mentioned in the LFAR that this is what you have to do, and you have an audit working that you need to know, or you need to, how will you extract the data and how will you fill the data? Netravati is asking, will there be any report which has month-wise TB? Netravati, I would say that you have to download the trial balance. Each month you download the trial balance and copy it in Excel, one below the other, one below the other. Just copy it and mark it the month. Since the grouping you have already done, it's one Vlookup formula you apply, and just apply a filter. You will automatically get all the P&L and the balance sheet month-wise automatically. Accessing of the recording, I think this presentation would be hosted. You should be able to access it. Question from Lakshmi. How do we get the entire session? This video would be recorded, so you will be able to watch it here. Right. Sir, the questions are answered. Over to you, sir.
Done, sir. Gella,
Yes.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Dear
Thank you
members,
very
we
much.
have come to an end of excellent session. It was a very lively and interactive session, even though it's virtual. Thank you. All credits goes to Gella, sir, only. He made it so interesting. He's a data analytic expert. I thank on behalf of Bangalore branch of ICA for your time and effort sharing your knowledge, sir, even in busy schedule of 31st March. Thanks a lot. I also thank all the members, those who actively participated in this half-a-day bank branch audit seminar. Thank you. I thank you all once again. And I want to give important information that we are planning to have a RRC, Residential Refresher course in Madikeri, because last 2 years we have not done any RRC. It is fun-filled learning. You can come with your family and members. It is in a very good resort like a Paddington Resort. It is on 6th, 7th and 8th. So I request members to block your calendar. Hope you will all join for that Madikeri RRC on 6th, 7th, 8th of May. There are 5 speakers already listed. MP Vijay Kumar is ready to come. Kariwal sir, T.R. Rajesh Kumar, and Narasimhan Ilangavan is a part of this faculty. So we have so many fun-filled activities in those 2 days. I request member to block your calendar. And one more very important program in April, that is on 23rd. It's a full day seminar on crypto, because a lot of members will be having a lot of questions on how to buy, how it is evolving, what is the regulations and law impacting in India, what is the income tax applicability, what is the GST applicability, so on and so forth. So many questions will be there. To address all these queries, we have 2 speakers. One is 2 speakers from USA. They is going to address. Another 3 speakers from India from Bangalore. They are going to address. It's an excellent session on cryptocurrency. It covers entirety. whole and solely all the topics will be touched in about cryptocurrency. I request member to register for that program. And we have a very fantastic session on April 16, faceless assessment. Two great speakers like Padamchand Kinch and KK Chaitanya are addressing those half-a-day seminar. I request member to enroll for that CPE seminar. With this, I thank you all for actively participating. And I thank once again Gella sir for sharing his valuable knowledge. Thank you. Thank you all. Right.
Thank you.